Hello and a warm welcome. We've just gone live. Welcome to the show. This is your Drive Your Business live stream where I interview top purposeful entrepreneurs who are really helping the world. They're serving, they're showing up and helping others to really just step into their own power, into their own passion too. So today I'm going to introduce my guest, and she's a Wellbeing and Mindful Coach. She's also a Reiki Healer, a self-love teacher, and her name is Justine Markley. She's from Believe You Deserve It. And absolutely, that's exactly what you need to do, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you are hustling in this world. And today she's going to discuss everything around mindfulness and how to free your mind from anxiety and stress. She's going to give us some simple tips and tricks on how to optimize our mindset and to really show up for ourselves as well as our customers and clients. And moreover, and more importantly, how to show up for ourselves to relieve that stress and anxiety that we are all going through right now. COVID has hit a lot of countries. I know here in South Africa, we're back on a very fierce lockdown. And a lot of us are frustrated. We have a lot of stress and anxiety around what we are feeling from day to day. So this is going to be ideal. So let's get on with it. Welcome to the show. A warm welcome to you. Hi, Justine, and thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. You know, it's such a thrill for me to actually speak to other entrepreneurs who are taking mindfulness as a business practice and actually helping others to help them better serve not only their communities, but also themselves and their families. It's so important. And today's subject is absolutely so needed. There's so many people, as I mentioned before, that are going through stress and anxiety, and they just don't know what to do to actually manage it. They don't know tips or tricks or even methodologies or even tools. They don't know what to use in order for them to actually just lessen that stress and anxiety in their head. So I'm looking forward to learning some more from you. But before we kind of jump into everything, right, I want to get to know you a little bit and share with my audience, please. Tell us a little bit about your story. Who is Justine Markley and how did you show up in the world? How did you become an entrepreneur like this?
Hi, everyone. So I started off when I was sort of younger, in my younger years. I always knew that I wanted to help people. And I went through some traumatic experiences as a young adult, and that kind of tailored and shaped my path for me and made me realize that actually I didn't want to feel like that anymore. I was waking up with anxiety every day. I was going through some extreme traumatic experiences that were shaping my lifestyle in a way that was extremely negative and was putting me in a position where I just felt that I couldn't cope on a day-to-day basis. I ended up with mental health issues. I started to feel anxiety every single day. I could not get out of bed without feeling anxious. And I went down that, that rock bottom path, and I did not know how to get myself out of it. And it was only through me focusing on holistic therapies, and actually I delved into my spiritual side a lot more, that helped me to get to where I was today. It took consistent practice. It took, sort of lots of holistic ways of doing things like deep breathing techniques, learning how to love myself, learning how to help myself on a day-to-day basis, and doing things on in a bite-sized chunk way that enabled me to move forwards with my mindset. It was actually my mindset and my emotions that were causing me to be in the position that I was in. And it was actually causing me a heck of a lot of unhappiness. And it was also attracting the wrong people into my life, the wrong situations. And it was just a massive spiral effect of negative energy. So I had to change the way that I was doing things. I had to have a look at what is it that I'm not, happy with, what is it that's not aligning for me. And the only way that I did that was through optimizing my self-awareness and actually understanding what my needs were in every given moment. And I really did start to focus on what do I need on a soul level rather than what do I need, materially, what do I need externally, what is it I needed? And what I needed was to really focus on myself and my path and my well-being in order to get me to where I am today. So those sorts of points were really important and imperative to happen in order to get me to the point where I am today, in order to help other people. And through my professional learnings and my life experience, I've combined the two together in order to teach others how to do the same. So, yeah.
Wow. That's amazing, because one of the other things and aspects that I do find, especially living as a woman, and I want to kind of hone in on this, because sometimes, living in this world where it's kind of very driven for women to take the second stance as opposed to a man, didn't you at all feel selfish to take the time to actually do this kind of work and look at your own self-awareness? How did that shift for you when you were in this position? I mean, many women, I know even in South Africa, a lot of us battle with this because we've actually been conditioned to kind of support men in a larger or a bigger role and take that second stance. How did that affect you and your growing and your learning? Justine?
So I used to work in the banking industry, which is very male driven. Very much, if you're a woman, be quiet and go over and sit in the corner and do what we say. And it was a very toxic environment. It really did affect my mental health. It made me feel like I wasn't worthy enough. And, being blonde as well, I was put in a category of being a bit, dippy or whatever. And actually, what made me and tailored me to getting to maximizing my potential was actually addressing, right, you're really talented, you're good at what you do, and you shouldn't have that fear. And if you have got that fear, face your fears, face it and say, what is this fear? What is this fear? What is it driving me? Why is it driving me? Why is it triggering me? Is it making me feel like I'm not good enough? If it's not making me feel good enough, why? Is this coming back to some recent event? Is this coming back to my childhood? And it's to do with all that questioning. And this is what I teach in my coaching, is you've got to question your mindset. You've got to question your emotions, and you've got to understand what is it that's triggering me and getting me to this point of lack of self-belief. Trust me, if you believe in yourself and you know that you're worthy of success, you know that you're worthy of happiness, then you will never let other people's opinions and judgments affect you. And it is just about really understanding that exactly. And focusing for me was focusing on self-love and focusing on exactly what it was that I wanted to attain with my life goals, and what it is I wanted to achieve helped me to bypass all of that noise effectively that was coming from that environment. And it helps me to focus on, right, what is it that I want? What is it I dream of? How can I achieve this? And understanding how to do that, but also approaching it from a more holistic perspective of following my heart rather than following what society told me to do, and really understanding what it was that I wanted to get to. Because the one thing that I made a mistake with, and I would highly want to highlight this to everybody, is that if you don't follow your heart, you don't necessarily understand or are aware of what it is that you need in order to progress forwards on your path. And I very much have the business concept of following my intuition in order to understand what my next step is in my business. Because that is my path, and that is the way that I'm able to help other people. Because even if someone sat there in front of me and they're going through some difficult times, it's all good and well me having all my knowledge and my experience, which is very useful, but what more helps my clients is me understanding intuitively how to help them move them forward. And that's exactly the path that I've decided to take.
Oh, that's beautiful. So many powerful nuggets that you're dropping here as you're talking. Sorry, I'm also taking notes. And one of the things that you said in the beginning, what helped you to shift, and out of that society thinking, because society kind of implodes on you and they kind of set you up with that kind of conditioned thinking, is start to take a step back, focus on your self-love, focus on what it is that you want and focus on what you're wanting to achieve. But don't go into your mindset of it, of what is expected of you, but rather sit in the intuition, which is that heart-centered space, which is beautiful, because that's exactly what has made you who you are today. And I think that is powerful in its own. So if you are listening, thank you for joining. You are watching the Drive Your Business live stream with myself, Lucille Devine. My special guest today is Justine Markley. And she's really just delving into her story and telling us what we should actually be focusing on, especially when it comes to stress and anxiety. If you're living a stressful or an anxious life, 9 times out of 10, you're living in ego. And just like Justine has indicated with regards to how she became this person, this Reiki healer, this Wellbeing and Mindset Coach, she actually stepped away from that and started to go deep within her heart space. And that helped her to actually tap into her intuition and start becoming aware, which is such a beautiful story. So thanks for sharing that with us. If you want to ask questions, please go ahead, pop them down below in the comment section. We'd love to actually answer any questions if you have any. And also, if you're watching the replay, don't forget to just hashtag the word replay so that we can catch that in our data reading and whatnot. And we can also get back to you if you have a question after the actual live stream too. All right, so let's move on to the next question, Justine. And that again, it hones right into this horrible thing that is happening at the moment with the COVID and the global lockdown. I mean, there are a few countries that have lifted the actual lockdown, but I want to tell you, here in South Africa, we are feeling it. We were in a 365-day lockdown. We are again in another 14-day lockdown. And I can see it. I can see the stress in a lot of the people as I'm even just walking down the street. How can we identify if that we are stressful? How do we identify that? And then also, how do we change our mindset when we can identify that we are in a stressful situation or we're anxious? Can you share that with us?
Of course. So what's happened is we had a certain way of being before COVID decided to turn up. And, what I've found over my sort of years of studying the mind and understanding the mind is the mind does not like change. It likes a routine. It likes a structure. It likes a certain way of doing things. And this is great if we want to get things done, but it's not good when we have extreme changes or life events that happen that cause us to completely be knocked off our stool as such. And so what this pandemic has done is it's caused us to go into a state of isolation, which has caused us to also listen to ourselves and what we need to do on a day-to-day basis in order to actually move ourselves forward from a very deep soul level. I just wanted to just touch base on that briefly because it's something that I've learned on my journey. So I thought I would pass that on to you. So in regards to this extreme change that we've all gone through, it's caused a huge amount of stress. And the reason why it's caused that stress is because our mind has not been prepared for it. We have not adapted to that situation. We were not aware of it approaching. So we're in a state of anxiety and stress, and that's caused us to step into overwhelmed emotions. And now it's a case of, right, so how do we address this? When stress starts to approach the human mind, what will happen is your body will speak to you first. So you'll start to feel tension around the heart space area. You also start to feel it around the mind as well. And you can also feel it physically. So you can start to get aches and pains. You can get headaches. And you can just generally start to feel unwell. Now, it's very important to be mindful of these bodily sensations that start to kick in, because if we don't address them when they come in, which I'll obviously mention in a minute how to do so, then it will cause you to turn into a burnout. And a burnout is where you feel extremely drained, extremely tired. You just feel like you cannot cope, and emotionally you start to feel so overwhelmed. You cannot just be. You start to escalate into the future. You start to go backwards to the past, even to things that have traumatized you, and it just creates a lot of trauma. So stress is something that is caused by adrenaline pumping through the body. So it's basically called cortisol. So it's when you are on fight or flight mode, you feel like you have to protect yourself because you're faced with danger. But actually, the human mind, yes, it was built to protect us from danger, which is why we have the fight and flight mode. But it was actually, produced to help protect us from immediate danger. But our mind now, because of conditioning, does not recognize when something's real danger, as in, like a lion chasing its prey, or whether it's actually something that's going on with our emotions internally, and something that's to do with our fears and our anxieties and worries. So I'll just give you an example. If you were to look at an animal, for example, in the animal kingdom, and they were being chased, the prey was being chased by a lion, their cortisol levels and adrenaline will go through the roof while they're being chased. Once that chase is over, they are the only living species that can actually let go of that stress and just go back to what they were doing. The human mind cannot do that. We hold on to it. We keep on replaying that situation in our head. What could I have done better? Why did that happen? Why did that situation occur? But then by overthinking, we are therefore causing ourselves to repeat the stress cycle. So with stress, once you address that you're in this situation where you're feeling uncomfortable, you will know emotionally when you're not feeling great, because you lose that sense of joy, you lose the empowerment feeling, and you also start to just feel deflated emotionally. And you start to step into what I call the negative cycle. So you go from feeling quite uplifted, in a generally good mood, to then starting to feel really negative and not understanding why you feel this way. And then you start to overthink, and then it turns into anxiety. So there are really, really good tips that I want to give you today that will really help you to understand how to move forwards. So the first thing, when you start to notice the physical sensations of stress, the first thing to do is to calm down the nervous system. So what I would suggest is you breathe in for 4 seconds for a count of 4. You hold it for a count of 4, and you exhale slowly for a count of 4 to 8 seconds, depending on how stressed you feel. And you repeat this cycle for up to 10 times. And it's only about a minute per exercise. But what you're doing is you're engaging the nervous system, you're calming it down. So therefore, you're able to actually get full awareness of what is going on in the present moment. The second step is also being aware of what has stressed you out. So having a pen and paper by your side at all times. So being able to write down how it is that you feel. Do you feel angry? Do you feel upset? Do you feel sad? Do you feel worried about something that you're doing in that present moment? And write down how you feel. The second thing is to identify the triggers. So identify, right, where did this come from? So I feel angry, and where could this possibly have come from? Now, when we start to question ourselves, we start to question the human mind, and the subconscious will kick in when we start to question ourselves. So let's say, for example, you're driving, as an example of the subconscious mind, how it works. When you're driving, you're on autopilot. You do what you need to do to get where you need to be. But if you start to question your mind when you're driving, you'll start to be aware of your surroundings. So you'll start to be aware of the noise of the tires on the road, or the way the car feels when you're driving. You'll be aware of the steering wheel in your hands. All of these sorts of things are having complete awareness in the present moment. When you get yourself to that level of awareness, that's when you can rewire your subconscious mind, and that's when you can change the game with your mindset. So if you're under stress and under anxiety, holistic tips like deep breathing and also tapping, which is called emotional freedom tapping, which is where you release emotions that no longer serve you. So I'll give you some examples. So if you're struggling with stress, you would start to tap specifically under the collarbone, just slowly tapping under the collarbone. And you say to yourself, even though I feel anxious or stressed, I know that I am safe. Because the one thing that happens when we feel stressed or under pressure with anxiety is we do not feel emotionally safe. So it's important that you reiterate to yourself that you are safe, you are supported, and that you are okay, because this will help to calm down the mind. The deep breathing mixed with the EFT will automatically get you to a point of being in the present moment and giving you that awareness so that you're able to refocus and get clarity on the situation. One more technique that I would like to advise you on is the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. And this is all about being aware. That's creating that awareness to distract your mind from the emotions that are causing you adversities. So what I mean by this is 5-4-3-2-1 is 5 things that you're aware of that you can see, 4 things that you can hear, 3 things that you can smell, 2 things that you can sense, and maybe 1 thing that you can touch. And you can change the order of that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's just about having that particular tools and techniques. It's a form of mindfulness where you're completely aware of your surroundings, and using all of your senses, no matter what it is that you're doing, but it puts you into the present moment without any whatsoever. And it gets you to focus on the here and now. And if you want to completely rid yourself of anxiety and stress, focusing on the present moment is the best thing that you can possibly do.
Wow, those are phenomenal tips. I am so blown away by this, Justine.
You're welcome.
I've learned quite a bit. So I just want to reiterate this because these tips are so vital for a lot of us who are going through stress. The very first thing that you mentioned is to calm down. And by calming down and using your breath, it's one of the aspects that you can start to use just to calm down that mind. And you do that by using a rhythm or a pattern. So 4 breath, taking a deep breath in for 4 on a count of 4, and then breathing out on a count of 4, and repeating that until your mindset is slowed down, and that will calm you down. The other thing that you mentioned is to start to be aware of what you're stressed about, and identify that by either journaling and questioning the mind, and start to write that down as well. As soon as you do that, it starts to trigger off, and you become more aware, and it starts to trigger off the mind, and that you start to calm yourself down as well. The other one, which I love this one, is the tapping. So as you're breathing as well, is tapping just on the top of the collarbone, which I did right now. And that also just calms you down, and I can actually feel it. In fact, when we're babies and our mother holds us on our chest, or even on the back, and taps, that's a form of calming. And as you were doing that, that's the thought that came to my mind, is that's how we calm a child, especially if the baby is in our arms, we genuinely do tap. So that's a powerful method to start to use as well. I love that one. And then finally, you've also said the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, which is phenomenal. I've written this down. I'm going to use this one as well, believe you me. So 5, think of the 5 things that you can see. 4, think of 4 things that you can hear. 3, think of 3 things that you can smell. 2, think of 2 things that you can sense, and 1, touch 1 thing. And that again just calms the mind down. And I love that, because that brings down awareness. And I love the fact that you've used this as a tip for us, because this doesn't distract you from what you are doing in the moment, and it brings presence. And I know when I'm present, I'm aware, and the more I'm aware, the more I can action things. So these are beautiful tips. Thank you so much for sharing them with us. You're watching it. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not a problem.
One more that I wanted to add that really has nipped anxiety in the bud in my life completely, because I've done all these techniques, they all work, but there was one more that was the game changer. And what that is, and I have to share this with you today, is when you breathe in, when you do deep breathing, breathe in the sensation and vibration of love. What I mean by that is, think back to a memory when you're in a calmer mindset, obviously with the anxiety and stress. Think back to a memory that made you feel really, really good, really happy, even thinking maybe of a pet that you have that you absolutely adore, your children, your partner. Really absorb that vibration of love, and really think about that feeling of love towards that person. Now, once you capture that feeling, I want you to breathe it in, hold it for 4 seconds, and then exhale it back out, as if it's exhaling out of your entire system, your entire body, and out to all the people that you love. I'll tell you why I teach you this, because with anxiety, we come from a place of fear, and fear cannot be present when you've come from a place of love. And I just wanted to let you know that, because if you want to rid yourself of anxiety forever, you've got to have that vibration of love flowing through you at all times, and you will never feel fear, because you'll be more connected to yourself than to your ego, which can create the fear and anxiety.
And that's a beautiful one to use as well. And I must say that I do this quite often. I visualize what that feeling of love. And it's normally attached to a person, and in particular, it's my daughter. And whenever I do visualize her, or just the way that she hugs me or holds me and tells me that she loves me, I just feel the sense of almost the color that comes through is a purple, pink sensation. And that 9 times out of 10, especially if I'm in a stress situation, I normally fill my heart up with that. And I do it quite a few times until I feel that sensation, and then I let it go. And funnily enough, I've even done this just before I go into a big business closure deal, or meeting someone online that I'm wanting to work with, or, I set it up, and it actually permeates my aura, and I can feel it. And so can the people around me who I deal with on a day-to-day basis. They can also feel that and sense that. And this is a game changer for me, because 9 times out of 10, it always works out positive just from doing that one exercise. So thanks for sharing that with us, because that's a very powerful one. I use that quite often with visualization and energy, as well as vibration, which is beautiful. Thank you, Justine.
You're welcome.
All right, everybody. I see there's a couple of people that have jumped on. You're watching the Drive Your Business live stream. This is dedicated to entrepreneurs just like Justine Markley, who is a Reiki healer, a mindful coach. And not only that, she also helps people. She serves people by helping them really tap into their blockages, their limitations, and she helps them move through this. And you can clearly see that she has a love for this by the interview that we're going through. But she actually just really helps you to shift that, so that you can perform at your ultimate, you can perform at your best peak, and show up for yourself confidently. So beautiful. We've gone through quite a few things with Justine. She's given us some tips. So if you are watching, go ahead, just comment down below if you have any questions. And also let us know if you want any further information or anything like that. Just pop it down in the comment section below. We are live out on Facebook as well as on YouTube. And if you are watching the replay and you happen to come across this video, please feel free to ask questions. I always come back to them. And if you ask any questions, I'll also direct them through to Justine for you to actually answer as well. Okay, so let's move on a little bit, because this, again, we're talking about change and mindset and how our minds don't like change. We also spoke a little bit about how the body works, especially when it comes to adrenaline. And I'm going to go back to this because I strongly feel, and I always want to talk about this with women, because sometimes we blame ourselves for who we are or who we're showing up as. And what we've got to understand is that there's so many variables here, not only that society conditions us as one aspect. There's also your internal, your family unit that also influence you. That causes stress and anxiety, and your culture as well. If there's certain things that you had to do as a woman in your family or in your culture, sometimes that can be stressful. Can you talk to us a little bit about this, Justine? For instance, if we are in a stressful environment, and we are living with a family or a culture that demands that we act a certain way, how would you suggest we actually go about kind of freeing ourselves from this?
Sure. So it's about identifying who you are, because at the end of the day, having the I suppose you could call them tailored environments, whether it's work, whether it's family life, it still will not dictate who you are as a person. And you've got to completely identify with, who am I? Who am I? Am I showing up every day as my authentic self, or am I pretending to be someone I'm not? In other words, imposter syndrome, just to people please, just to keep peace because I'm scared of conflict. And that ultimately would tell me that you would be coming from a place of fear if you could not speak your truth. So it's really important to connect back to yourself on a deeper level and understand, what are my needs? What is it that I feel good doing? What makes me happy? What is it that drives me? What is my passion? What is it that gets me up every day and makes me want to be alive and, really absorb and maximize my potential? Because if we are shadowed by other people's ways ways of doing things and opinions, it will suppress our emotions, it will suppress our way of doing things, and it will also stop us from being the true self that we need to be. And also, your true talents and skills will only come to light if you are completely authentically you. And everyone should be proud of being who they are, because we all have different gifts to deliver on this planet. And it's about utilizing and tapping into those things. And one thing I wanted to advise everyone on is that if we are too tailored to, being in other people's light effectively, and, doing what we're told to do, and actually not focusing on what our needs are, we actually restrict ourselves from, putting out there our potential and also helping others as part of our purpose. And if we sort of start to blame ourselves and start to not forgive ourselves for moving forwards or being where we want to be, then we ultimately cause an energy of restriction and restraint. So it's really important to focus on what it is that you want out of your life, what it is that you want to achieve. And if you have to step back from certain ways of doing things to achieve that, then that needs to be done, because you cannot be held back by other people. We have one life here, and we've got to utilize that, maximize it to its potential, and be able to deliver what we want to deliver. And one thing I wanted to identify with you is that when I was too controlled by others around me, I did not know my identity. I didn't know who I was. I had no idea what my purpose was, and I just could not understand how to be happy. The key to happiness is focusing on the internal factors, not the external. So I just wanted to touch upon this. So things like holidays, partnerships, friendships, anything external, they're all causes for happiness. What truly brings you within that bubble of happiness is going within, identifying and understanding yourself, understanding why you might be emotionally feeling the way you are. For example, I grew up not feeling good enough, and that therefore caused issues with rejection, fear, not feeling worthy, and that caused a lot of issues for me emotionally and mentally. And it was by identifying that came from my childhood, I was able to then work on it and look at those situations and learn how to heal from them. I always say to everybody, if you want to live your best life and you want to feel really happy and really content, truly, truly happy, you've got to have that understanding that you don't need or want anything, because it's already within you. And whatever it is that you desire is always going to be there. It will turn up. Anything that you're drawn to, anything you're inspired by, those are things that are meant for you. So if you know those things are meant for you based upon this principle, then there is absolutely no need to be desperate or, really cause resistant energy towards those things. As talking about the universal side of things, you attract what you are. And if you're finding yourself in a situation at the moment where you're like, do you know what? My life is not where I want it to be. Just have a nice, gentle, kind look at yourself and what's going on inside you to be able to identify what it is that's causing that mirror effect back to you with your situations and with people. So when you start to heal yourself on a deep level, you will start to recognize your life will change. It's only since I've done deep healing that I've actually noticed that I'm now attracting what I want into my life rather than what I don't want. And one thing I just also wanted to touch base on was your language that you use. And this comes back to NLP teachings, which is neuro-linguistic programming, which I'm trained in, is that if you want to attract what you want and you want to live your life in the best, most peaceful way, be mindful of the language that you're using with yourself. Okay. So what I mean by that is, what is it you're saying to yourself on a daily basis? Are you aware of self-limiting beliefs? Are you aware of things that are holding you back? And are you mindful of the language that you're using directly one-on-one with yourself? What I mean by that is your inner critic. What is your inner critic saying to you? What language is it speaking to you? Is it negative? If it's negative, that's the first step. That level of awareness is the first step in order to rewire your mind. And that's where you can tap into things like EFT and things like that will help you to move forward with that level of mindset. But going back to the initial point of what can you do if you're in difficult situations, learning to focus on the positives of those situations, look at what you can change and what you can't change in the immediate term, know that you can change it later on down the line. It may just be that in that moment there are other things that you need to focus on in order to help move you forwards and help you address your concerns. I just wanted to mention that just to give you some light on your
Yeah,
situation.
that's brilliant. That's brilliant because, like I said to you, so many women are stuck in this situation, and I was there. I know what it feels like, and you've touched on a couple of things here again because you're dropping a lot of nuggets, and I hope people are picking up on this. And I just want to reiterate them as we go through. Just before we carry on, there, I see Bev is on. Hi, Bev. I haven't seen you for a while. So nice of you to come and pop in and join us. So a warm welcome to you. If you do have any questions, don't forget to ask in the comment section. We will address them. We will answer them. So just going back to what you were saying as well, because I want to share something that happened with me. Is I was in a relationship for a very long time. And what I started doing was I was taught to always have a male step up in the front and then support from the back. And through my healing journey, once this relationship had come to an end, I couldn't believe it. I was in total denial. And one of the key things that I used is something that you said is forgiveness. I had to forgive myself first, because I knew at the time when I was in this relationship and what was happening, what I was doing. I was placing this one person as the kind of cornerstone of everything, pushing all of my energy, all of my support, all of my love into this person, while this person was actually not true to what he had said he was. And when it ended, I was in such denial that I honestly spent almost maybe between 8 or 9 months waiting for him to come back. It was only then that I realized my own self-worth, and I had to move on with my life. I had to also come to the understanding that I didn't need a man to step up for me, that I could step up for myself. And that was powerful for me. And as I'm saying it now, I'm even getting emotional, because that's what I grew up learning from my surroundings, from my family. And when I realized that, things started shifting. And that's when I could boldly step into that forgiveness and recognize exactly who I was. And the more I started doing that, I mean, I spent 5 months and maybe every 3 days, I wouldn't sleep. I would just go into meditation. I was consuming things out online, from Mind Valley to Dr. Joe, to anyone that was giving information. All I did was meditate and heal. And that's what I set out to do. And I did that for 5 solid months. And like I said, sometimes I didn't even sleep. I went right through for 3 days and just did the work. Whatever work was there, I did it. And it got me to a space and a place where I could show up. And that was just before COVID hit. As an entrepreneur that could support other entrepreneurs, I stepped into my purpose so easily and with so much ease. And I knew that I had to help other entrepreneurs do the same. And as you're going through it, also the other thing that came up for me was the mirror image. I didn't realize that the mirror image, and that was the gift that I found from this partner, was that he was just mirroring exactly what I was giving out and the lack of. And that was the gift. And when I found that gift as well, that freed me. And then the last thing that you had said is being mindful to what you say to yourself. I didn't realize this, but I learned this from a very young age. As women, when we stand in front, even if we're standing in front of a mirror, whether we're naked or not, we say such bad things to ourselves, and our bodies feel this. And I came across a video probably I'd say about a good 10 months ago, where they did experiments on water. And this Japanese doctor took 3 different jars, and he named one love, one ignore, and one hate. And he did an experiment. And over a period of 30 days, for the water that he labeled love, he absolutely loved it and told it every day and for at least 3 to 9 times how much he loved the water. The next water, which he labeled ignore, he never even recognized. He kind of just put to the side.
Okay.
He never did anything with it. And the water that he labeled hate, he absolutely put all of his hatred into it. And the water that was labeled hate turned out fungal. There were growths on the top of it, and it turned black-green. The water that he had loved was absolutely perfect. There was nothing wrong with it. In fact, he could still drink it. The water he ignored, it just fermented. It also had kind of fungi and that on it. So it goes to show that it's so important for you to speak what you believe. And Justine has given us some beautiful tips and tricks, and not only that, tools to use, especially for our mindset. If you find yourself devaluing yourself, take that breath, use that rhythmic breath, 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out, and do it every day. When I first began, I probably did this maybe about between 100 and 150 times a day, just to slow down the mind and to reshuffle. And as soon as I started doing it, became habit for me. So it became automatic. But stop and ask yourself a real question. You are here to deliver your awesomeness, your purpose, your passion. And why shouldn't you love yourself? Why shouldn't you talk to yourself with love? And I think that is the crux of this message that Justine is trying to deliver for us today, is being mindful of what you say will mirror in the universe. And I want to tell you, the fact that I've met Justine and the fact that I'm surrounded by other dynamic women is testament to exactly what Justine has taught us today. It is fantastic. When you change your mindset, you let go of anxiety and your stress by using these tools, you will absolutely walk in your awesomeness and your magic. Justine, do you want to add anything else to that, please, before we say goodbye to our audience?
Yes, of course. So I just wanted to get everybody back to basics. So this is me going back into giving an analogy, I suppose. If you look at, for example, a plant, they thrive and they grow due to sunlight. Yes, due to watering as well, but due to sunlight. If you imagine that you are this plant, and bearing in mind that if you water yourself with self-love and just tell yourself all the time how good you are, how amazing you are, how you're so gifted and talented, and you add in the energy of positive thinking, and that bit representing like the sun, you will start to see yourself grow on a very big level. If you think about it, we are all energy, and even the sun causing nature and causing this earth to be alive, that is energy. The sun is energy. So if the sun can do that to the earth, think what you can do to your own life with your thoughts and your language that you use. Honestly, second nature now to me is to do positive affirmations. So over the weekend, I missed out on the opportunity to play my positive affirmations before I went to bed because I was very tired. I just wanted to go to sleep. The next morning, when I woke up in the morning, my mind was automatically chanting those positive affirmations that I've been listening to every day for like the last month or so overnight. And they were just coming out of my head. I was getting, I am worthy, I am good enough, I am successful. They were just coming out of my head like second nature. And one thing I want to say to you is if you're struggling right now with your mindset and you've just started doing positive affirmations, just be aware it takes 60 days to change a habit. So from negative to positive thinking, it takes 60 days to rewire the brain. If you're starting a brand new thing with positive affirmations, it takes 21 days to start a habit and integrate it. So try to be kind and patient with yourself because your mind is learning it all again. So just be mindful of that and aware of that. But for anyone that doesn't know what positive affirmations are, they are positive statements that you say to yourself every single day, consistently, and saying things like, I am capable, I'm confident, I am worthy, I'm successful. So if you're ever in a point where you're questioning yourself and you've got self-doubt and you're thinking, do you know what, I just don't feel good enough, just remember how far you've come. Just remember where you are now to where you used to be. And that will give you a good reflection of how far you've excelled with yourself. And also just be aware of if you're in a job position or something like that, or running a business and you're having a moment where you just don't feel worthy, just say to yourself, but look where I'm at right now. If I wasn't worthy, I wouldn't be here doing this right now. I wouldn't have been guided to this. I wouldn't be delivering this as a purpose. So I'm obviously good enough because look what I'm doing. And it's about having that reflection. Stand in front of the mirror with the positive affirmations and say them to yourself with true meaning and love. And look yourself in the eye and say it to yourself as if you were talking to your daughter, as if you were talking to someone you know that you really love. The more you fall in love with yourself, the more your life will change for the better, and you'll start to see miracles unexpectedly turning up in your life. I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That is really heartfelt. And I know that that's happening. My life has turned 360 already. I'm living a magical life. So I'm very blessed. And it's only because I've done exactly what you suggesting. So we're coming up to the end of the program. I just want to give a big shout out to our audience. I know we had quite a few women on board that were watching. Thank you so much. Do me a favor, if you feel that a friend of yours, maybe someone in your family that is really going through some stressful or anxious times at the moment, go ahead and share this video, whether it's on YouTube or on Facebook. And you can do that by just pressing on that share icon. You can send it directly in a message, or you can actually just share it out on your wall. I'd really appreciate this. We're here to actually help to change lives, and that's why I'm asking you to share it. The other thing that you can do as well is, if you do have any questions but you don't want to pop them in the public forum, please go ahead and put them into a message on my page right here on Facebook, and I will get Justine to actually personally just connect with you and answer those questions as well. But from my side, I'd really like to thank you. Thanks for hanging out with us today. I know it's been such, especially here in South Africa, it's been so frustrating that we back down in this lockdown. This pandemic is taking lives. And again, if you keep yourself calm, if you de-stress the mind, if you use all of these tools that Justine has shared so graciously with us today, I promise you, you will be okay. Your life will change, and you will start to see actual evidence of it changing in front of you. Justine, before we go, please, won't you tell everybody about your resources that you have available on your website, which I've popped down onto the actual screen, just very quickly before we go, please.
Sure. Hi, everyone. So I've set up a 30 days steps to wellbeing journal prompts, which are all integrated. It's not just about wellbeing, it's about how to help yourself change your mindset. It's all 30 questions that will help you to start to look at your life very differently. It's on my website under journal prompts. If you want the direct link, I will send it to Lucelle. And also I have a Freeing the Mind workshop that's going ahead on the 4th of August from 7 till 8:30 p.m. UK time. And it's going to be a wonderful session. It's going to be up to 90 minutes where you'll be able to understand in much more detail how to free your mind, tools and techniques, and then there's Q&A, questions and answers at the end. And any helpful tips that I can suggest, I will do so as well. And also one last thing, if you are struggling right now, I am doing a 30-minute free coaching calls to help you to find a better way of doing things and feeling a lot better emotionally. I do tailor and specify my coaching on emotions and also helping with the mindset.
Okay, brilliant. And we can pop to the website to actually go and book that time with you, or the session with you there, Justine.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so thank you so much. Thank you once again to my audience, and thank you from my heart space to yours, Justine, for popping on today. This was so valuable. I have written down tons of notes. I've got to go through them as well because I want to implement a few new ones that I've learned from you. Thank you so much for your time, for your expertise. Welcome. It has been brilliant.
Thank you.
Cheers, everybody. Have a brilliant day. I love you all. Cheers. Bye.